Hey everyone, and welcome to our fifth episode number 5 of our Love Strong podcast. We're still in our Fundamentals for Success series, where we go through each of our fundamentals for success, all 28 of them, and dive deep into what really makes it such a fundamental to growth and success for not only Diamond C, but for each individual. And so this week, I've got my guest, Polo Reyes, our quality control manager.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you.
I asked him to come in here. So we're talking about fundamental number 23, do extraordinary work. And that's our focus this week. And so in the capacity of quality control, Polo lives and breathes this fundamental on the daily basis of having to ensure that everyone in the whole company, that touches the product, that touches the customer service, to the purchasing of materials, to every aspect of quality, which is the entire company, is done in an extraordinary fashion. That's our niche. And so we're going to talk about and dive deep into how Polo uses this fundamental to be successful in his own work, but also how he uses this fundamental to embed success across the company. And so, Polo, I'm going to read the fundamental, and it's in its word-for-word fashion, so we don't lose any intentionality of exactly the way it's written. So, number 23, do extraordinary work. Take pride in quality of everything you touch and everything you do. Always ask yourself, is this my best work? Yearn for the extraordinary. Everything you touch has your signature. Sign in bold ink. And so, Polo, as I read that out loud and as you hear that fundamental, what jumps out to you? What part of this fundamental really screams, do extraordinary work?
So, Cody, a lot of things come to mind when you mention fundamental number 23, do extraordinary work, because it revolves around a lot of feelings and a lot of characters, and the one that pops out the most is passion. The passion behind the work, the passion the person is doing, so it can be extraordinary.
Absolutely. So you talk about passion, right? Mm-hmm. And we obviously, anybody that's passionate about their work is going to put that signature on anything they do, right? Yes. So how do you find passion and maintain this fundamental and this strive to do extraordinary work? Because I'm going to preface this in saying that if in quality control, you have to live this fundamental every day, right? Because everything that gets out the door, everything that that we produce, that we put our name on, is of extraordinary quality. And so, how do you live this fundamental in your life, in your professional work?
So the way I live this, do extraordinary work, like you mentioned, bring in the passion, it goes back to, the fundamentals, right? This isn't only a fundamental to me, but it's also a core value, and it's also the foundation of my role, but not only for me, but for my team.
Sure.
How does extraordinary work look like? How can you teach it? How can you spread it? And that comes passion. It doesn't, it grows, you grow passion, you spread it, but how does that look like? Whether it's through motivation, engagement, and influence. So
absolutely. So in that aspect of, you say that the way that you live this fundamental is by growing passion. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? I mean, it sounds easier said than done. How do you grow passion in a person?
So the way you grow passion and help that person grow the passion that they need in order to push out extraordinary work is, you got to influence them, not just motivate them, not just give them a good pep talk for the week and say, hey, look, today we're going to do extraordinary work. You don't start off meeting saying, hey, it sounds all good and all, but how does that come into action? By influence a person, you want to influence him. You want him to follow you, right? So by the way you influence is by providing good expectations. If there's clear expectations, there's great accountability behind that.
Sure.
And that comes with the quality control. We are the accountability side of it. But how does that look like to the team members? We measure, how they work, if they meet those expectations, and we follow up, we get feedback. And that gets you a long way, that influences people. That influences people to want to strive to do better. Everybody at one point wants to know if they're succeeding or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked about growing the passion in a way of, not only holding them accountable, but celebrating them, right?
Yes.
And so I think that I'll bring up. We just had an instance with one of our lines where quality celebrated a line. You want to tell us a little about what you celebrated and what you did to continue to grow the passion for extraordinary work?
So this was tilt line number 2, Caesar Shop, one of our operational managers, same with Roy, our line supervisor. So these guys, they have been they're welding, building trailers, manufacturing them day to day. They fight fires every day, whether it's, material, a supply and demand situation, whatever the scenario is, they're always getting a pushback somewhere,
Sure.
And these welders, they tend to lose track of, that extraordinary work, from putting out all these crazy fires that are just popping up.
Right.
And, a good way to start is growing that passion, and striving for it, to dig deep into it and engrave it is, everybody likes, recognition. They like to know where they stand, if they're succeeding, or how does that achievement look like. So they've been pushing out production, I believe, almost to 200 trailers with they have 0 defects. And, throughout the whole month or 2 months of extraordinary work, we decided to throw a little cookout. We gave them a cookout. You helped me orchestrate it. We provided, a meal for every welder. And believe it or not, they felt that compassion. They felt that engagement. They weren't only engaged or motivated, they felt influenced. From the next week after that, I had team members coming up to me telling me, hey man, I'm gonna get 0 again, and next time I want this for food, or
right.
So they're already getting the chain, that flow that we need them to go to, to do our extraordinary work. That passion is already behind it. A lot of people say, hey, well, I want you to be more passionate about this. Well, we can say that, but how does that look like?
Right, absolutely. I mean, and that's the magic in a bottle, right? How do you get and grow passion, right? Those
Yes.
are the magic beans that only exist in fairy tales of, like, here, do this, and it'll put passion and commitment in a person. Those traits that are so hard to find, and that employers and team builders are just searching for. And the reality is, you have to grow it. You can have seeds planted, and you can get someone who comes in with passion, but if you're not developing that passion, and especially in the context of doing extraordinary work, right? Yes. To take pride in your work, to take ownership of what you're doing, to have that commitment to the customer, to do your best on every single trailer. And I will say, on that Till Line 2, that was a couple weeks ago, we did that, and still 0 defects, right? Yes. 0 reworks. And now defects, when he says that means that they don't have to go back and do anything to the trailer. It comes out exactly right, perfect each time. And when you're pushing out 200 trailers, and you've got, a dozen different guys, and it's going through 2 or 3 different buildings and accessories and all that, it's not uncommon for us to have to really pay attention, and QC and quality assurance will definitely go over each trailer with a fine tooth comb and really make sure that it is extraordinary. So for them to hit 200 trailers to that high of a standard without a single issue is really amazing, because we are super stringent on all of our quality issues and all of our quality assurance. And so I think you make a great example there in growing passion, right? Yes. And so I want to dive in on that and talk about whenever you're walking around campus, right? And in quality control, you're everywhere. I see you over in the powder coat facility, in every weld building, in the office. You span all the way from the warranty department to the shipping bay. As you're walking around and planting these seeds of passion, what do you preach? What do you tell the guys when you do have quality issues? How do you coach and teach, do extraordinary work into the team around the company?
So the way I approach it is, like I mentioned, let's say you got a welder or a supervisor or operational manager, they fight their fires every day, correct?
Right.
And they tend to get off track. How does that, passion getting off track?
When you say get off track, you mean
they're focusing on other fires, like as far as situations, dealing with other fires or like problems that causes frustration.
Absolutely, gotcha.
At some point that they feel stressed. And usually when I see that, I tend to jump in there and say, hey, what's going on? You need to learn how to approach it. Like, okay, this person is stressed. You know, it goes back to watching your audience. You know, you got to watch your audience, go in there and say, hey, look, what's the situation? Or, you know, how does he go about, you know, let's say they're performing bad. You know, let's say a trailer came back for a rework. How does that conversation look like? Hey, you go in there and like, hey, this is the issue that was found. You know, what could have caused you to miss it? You know, and they'll give you a bunch of reasons, you know, but then you always go back to and say, okay, well, you know, there's always room for improvement. You know, you never want to go in there and demand, or, you know, hey, you need to do quality, or you need to do extraordinary work. You need more passion. You know, we can say that, but how does that look like? You know,
right? And
a good way is, you know, coaching them in. You know, I use a lot of analogies, right?
Sure.
That's one of my strengths. You know, and I've been told, hey, you use too much. You know, which is
no such thing. No such thing.
It's a little funny. But, you know, and it goes, everybody's looking for quality. You know, this is the way I tend to coach them. Everybody's looking for quality. At some point, we all get upset of what we received. You know, it could be even in a line at Burger King. You know, you get a burger with pickles and you didn't want pickles. You know, right. What do we do in those situations? You know, and the same thing when we go look into buying in a house. You know, we look for that quality, what pops out. And the same thing with the car. You know, and then the way I tend to preach it to the guys is, you know, think of it as, you know, a coin has two sides. You know, you're on this side. How would you feel on the other side? You know, think of it from that perspective.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
How would you accept this? And, you know, they'll sit back and say, honestly, no. You know, so there really isn't such of a pushback there. You know, it's just a matter of coaching and teaching and growing that passion, you know, helping them get into that same vision. We all have the same vision, but at some point we're all going to get off track, and, you know, the whole purpose is, you know, make sure we're all going in there together.
I think you make a really great point. I want to open up a little bit, is that you got to see it from both sides of the coin, as you said. Mm-hmm. And so often, you know, in it's just natural, right? These guys and these teams, whether you're in the weld shop or powder coat, they're pushing out hundreds of trailers a week, and, you know, thousands in these same type of models, and they're pushing them through, come in and build. And so over time, you know, you say they lose focus, get off track. Yes. It starts to become a repetition. You know, yes. It's routine to them. And so when they're, you know, not being, I'll say diligent about really putting each touch on every trailer to think about, okay, if I was going to buy this trailer, how would I want a welder to do this job, right? Yes. Especially in the world of a professional welder, or, you know, painter or whatever it is. When you think about, I'm doing this trailer as if it was for myself. How would I want this weld done if it was going to be my trailer? You know, like if I was going to spend my hard-earned money to purchase this trailer, how would I want it done? And I thought that was a great point of really taking the time and coaching for them to see every weld, every trailer, every part, you know. And it's not just frames and beds. It's also the boxes and, you know, all the fabrication that goes into the necks and everything. And all those teams, you know, of really owning their work as if they were the ones that were going to consume the product. And I thought that was a great point.
Yes.
So in that same vein, like on that train of thought, I like to go into that depth to say, okay, you make the point several times. It says we're going to get off track. We stray. We get away from it. It's human nature, right? We've got all 28 fundamentals, and it's just impossible to sit there and be perfect at all 28 every day, all the time, right? There's one thing that I'm not, and that's perfect. I can tell you that right now. You know, and nobody is perfect. So, you know, one thing that I really want listeners and our team and anybody consuming this in our community to get out of this podcast is to say, okay, what are some red flags? What are some signs for me to catch myself, right? We're not always going to have somebody, Apollo Reyes, walking around to hold us accountable to say, hey, you're not doing extraordinary work. You know, you're not coming in to my podcast and telling me when I'm not doing extraordinary work, right? Yeah. You're more than welcome to, but, you know, like when someone in that position is missing that quality control, or someone, you know, in their regular life, at their family, when they're being a husband or a father or a wife or a daughter, what is something that they can do and a red flag for them to catch themselves to say, you know what, I've strayed away. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing extraordinary work. I'm not signing my name in bold ink and taking pride in my job or my role or my position. What are some red flags that you would say, if you see this, if you're doing this, it probably means you're not doing extraordinary work?
Okay, so, you know, if I'm approaching somebody, you know, if I was to tell you, hey, Cody, you're not doing extraordinary work, what would be a red flag that would pop up to me is, you know, extraordinary work is, you know, quality, right? And
Sure.
that goes in, quality is, you know, something that's the best of my work. You get me? And I see a lot of people, or not a lot of people, you know, like, let's say, for example, you're in a bad day or a bad mood, or, you know, whatever the frustration is or whatever it is, people sense that environment, right? So first off should be your environment. You know, how is the connectivity going there? You know, how are you connecting with people? And if you do make that connection, you know, you let that person know, hey, you know, step out for a minute. Because we talk about quality, but that quality has to come to us as well. But how does that look like? You know, do we need to step out and, you know, take a deep breath, you know,
Sure.
whether take out a small lunch, or, you know, maybe you want to walk outside for 5 minutes, enjoy the nature. It could be something small for every different person, but that quality has to come with us first, you know. And then another red flag, you know, that you see somebody would be, you know, it's a repetitive routine, right?
Yeah.
At some point we're going to get off track, like you mentioned, but how does that look like in a red flag? You know, when people are stressed, frustrated, or there's errors popping up, you know, or, you know, just the environment and the culture you're living, you know. And one thing that helps us get back on track is, you know, Jeffrey provided us the fundamentals and, you know, core values, and, you know, it's our foundation. You know, it's a foundation for our team, for us leaders. And, you know, we all want to head the same direction, right? And, you know, we're a team here, you know. So if we slightly see a team member tracking off, you know, immediately we're going to reach out, grab their hand and say, hey man, you know, we need to finish strong together. You know, there's no man left behind, whether that's either constructive conflict or calling meetings or, you know, addressing it to them, you know, the accountability that we need. You know,
Right.
that's another good foundation that helps extraordinary work succeed, is the accountability side of it as well.
Absolutely. And I think that if there's something that we can take from this, and, you know, when you wrap up this podcast and you wrap up this episode and we talk about doing extraordinary work, you know, in the concept of a red flag, a little ding ding ding, something of self-awareness to get your attention to say, hold on, I'm not living this fundamental. I'm really not putting pride. You said it yourself, doing the best that you can do, right? And I know I'm guilty of that. And you go, like, when you talk about home life, you know, you go home, you got the kids, you're tired, work was hard today, you know, you didn't get much sleep last night.
Yes. And
then, you know, it's easy to do, here, you know, here's a tablet, kid, here, turn the TV on. Dad, I don't have the energy to do extraordinary fathering today, you know, like, you're going to get subpar dad, all right? But, you know, so, like, some red flags there would be to ask yourself that honest question. Yes. Am I doing my best?
Or am I trying to wing it? Or trying to get the day?
Would I be proud to describe the work I did here, right? Like, if you reanalyze yourself and go back and look and say, you know, hey, you know, let's look at my work from last week. Let's look at the podcast from last week. Would I be proud? Would I want to post that on the front page of the newspaper and tell everybody about it? Right. Would I want to describe my parenting to you know, to my family, to my peers? Would I want to, you know, display my work for everyone to see? And if you ask yourself that question and the answer is no, the answer is, I'm not proud. I don't want to show and tell everybody about what I've been doing and the work and the effort I've been putting in, then hello, there's a great example of not doing extraordinary work. And I think that's exactly what, you know, we have in quality control here. So they know that someone's going to look at it. They know that you're going to have that system of accountability, and that's why it's set up that way, because we want to ensure for our customer and, you know, for the safety and for the customer satisfaction that they're getting a high quality product. So we're not going to leave it up to chance, but for you and for our listeners and individuals can take that moment to evaluate themselves and use, like you said, use those fundamentals of practicing human connection, use the fundamental of calling the meeting, use the fundamental of maintaining a positive attitude, right?
Yes, correct.
Taking those clarity breaks. I think that's all great stuff. And so, Polo, I really wanted to thank you for coming on this week, talking about do extraordinary work. You know, as the quality control manager, you live and breathe this every day. And I mean, it was great content, really, really, really good stuff to take back and really embody in your day-to-day life. And so, this week, if we're going to wrap it up in 3 things: 1, take pride in your work.
Yes.
Sign your name in bold ink. Live and breathe your work as if it was for you, right? Yes. If you were painting your house, if you were building your own trailer, whatever your product is, whatever your work is, if you were advising your own son for college, whatever your job is, like you can go to any profession, right? And if you were doing it for yourself or for the people you care most about, how would you do it? Do it the same way for everyone else. 2, be honest with yourself. Are you proud of your work? Are you proud to display the work you've done? And if the answer is no, then it probably wasn't extraordinary. Exactly. Use all the fundamentals to keep yourself in line, to keep yourself on track, and and really that's a good way and the best way to keep yourself being successful with this fundamental. And so that's all we've got for this week. Thank you for joining us for our 5th episode. And we look forward to seeing you next week on our 6th installment of our Fundamentals for Success. Until then, love strong. Thank y'all.
Thank you all.